What would you do for love? I would do anything for love. Would you? Would you do anything for love? We're going to talk tonight about a lady who did exactly that. Gave up everything for love, even her own life. So, this is her. This is Vicky White. And Vicky White was a correctional officer. Not only a corrections officer in Florence, Alabama. We're going to be having a look in a minute at exactly where that is. But she was in charge. She was the woman in charge. She had worked there for years. She had an exemplary record. Nobody doubted her. The convicts loved her. Everybody said how empathetic she was. Although she was a corrections officer, they trusted her. They felt comfortable with her. She was like everyone's mum. Then what happened was, along came this guy, Casey White, a murderer, no less. No relation, by the way. By some coincidence, we both got the same surname, White. Casey White, a lifelong felon, came to her prison. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the story of what happened. So, let's chat. So, now, hi, I'm Vicky Marie. It's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world that we're living in. And this is a bit of a crazy case. There's probably not many of us in our lives who haven't done silly things for love. You know, we've done things, we've fallen in love, and there's nothing we won't do for that person. But there's probably not many of us that would do what Vicky did, what Vicky White did. The lovely Vicky White. So everyone said what a lovely person she was. Even the convicts in her care said how lovely she was. And what she did for this man who really did not deserve it. Anyway, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you, all my subscribers, all of you that watch my channel, all of you that like my videos, share my videos. Special thanks to my members. And thank you to everyone who's bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a super chat, sent me an email, contributed in any way, shape or form to my channel. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get rid of the banner and then we can start talking about this story. So yes, so for this case, we're going over to Alabama. Let's have a look. For those of you who don't know much about geography, like me, we're going over to Florence, Alabama. That's where this case happened. Now, I didn't know because I don't know. It's quite close to, you know, where we have done quite a few cases, Riley Strain, Sebastian Rogers, quite close to Tennessee, Florence, Alabama. And Vicky worked at a prison facility there. Now, if we look at where that is in the context of the rest of it, it's in the South, of course, yeah. Oh, in the deep South. In the deep South, not far from Mexico, yeah, Florida, etc. So that's where we're going to for this story. So let me give you the background. So I need to tell you about Vicky. I think the reason this case, it's been turned into a Netflix documentary. Very good series, actually. Very interesting. I think they go into it, very comprehensively. And, it's difficult to imagine how this woman, how Vicky, a woman so highly thought of, nobody questioned anything she did in this prison facility. She had worked, I think she was 17 years working there. She was in charge of the detention centre. And no one had any reason to doubt her over the months leading up to the incident. Because what nobody knew was that when this prisoner, Casey White, had come to this prison facility, Vicky and he had started a relationship that nobody knew about, not even her closest friends. Nobody was aware of the relationship that was developing between Casey and Vicky White. And Vicky had remarked to one of her friends that as her retirement was coming up, let me just put her picture up again so that you can have a look at her. I think she's got, her face sort of shines. She looks like she's a good person if you ever know from looking at anybody. But yeah, one remark she had made to one of her friends was that she wanted to go out with a bang. And unfortunately, that was to prove exactly true what happened to Vicky. So this guy, Casey White, he'd come to the prison. He'd had the complete opposite of the life that Casey had had. Casey had had this exemplary record, had worked in the prison correction centre. She had been married, it hadn't worked out. She didn't have children. She had a dog, which, she thought the world of. But this guy, he'd had a completely opposite type of life. He had had a history of different sort of, ever since he was young, he had a history of, run-ins with the police, etc., criminal history. He was already serving 75 years for a 2015 crime spree. And he was at her facility. Her facility was the Lauderdale County Jail in Florence, Alabama. And he was at her facility for pre-trial motions because he had confessed 2 years earlier to the 2015 stabbing and murder of a woman, a 59-year-old Connie Ridgway. So it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What did Vicky see in this guy? Did she believe that he was, we can't talk to Vicky now, we can't interview, no, Vicky can't be interviewed, we can't get Vicky's side of the story. But how did she fall for this guy when they're complete opposites in everything they'd done in their lives? Now, we know she was sympathetic to the convicts in her care, in the sense of she always said, they're not animals, they're people. We have to treat them like people. And that's lovely. It really is. And a lot of the convicts came onto the Netflix documentary and have had only good things to say about Vicky. So why did she fall, though, for this guy, a murderer of a woman? And he's serving a 75-year, he's not just in there for a bit of shoplifting or even, a bit of, I don't know, smoking a spliff or whatever. He's in there for serious offences. And Vicky fell in love with him. They fell in love with each other, from what we can, whether he fell in love with her or just saw her as his road out of prison. We can't know, only he knows that. But yeah, so it turns out, in fact, over quite a length of time, they'd been planning this. Vicky had been, she'd sold her house to have some money. She'd been planning, buying things like tents and things, you know, that they could help them live on the run, etc. So, you know, it wasn't a sort of just a spur of the moment thing. It had been planned. It had been planned. Now, she was set to retire that very same day that that they escaped, and it was on the April the 29th, 2022, and that was the day that Vicky was supposed to be retiring. They actually had, you know, a little party for her in the office with a cake, etc. So apparently, before she left with him, she sold her property for $95,000. Which was a massive drop to what it was actually worth, which was over $230,000. But obviously, she just wanted a quick sale. She'd bought firearms, she'd bought men's clothing and vehicles. And then, you know, as in the subsequent investigation that followed, nobody knew this at the time, but she had been giving him special treatment. They had actually had intimate relations in the prison. She had taken him out before on like a trial run, you know, but that time she had brought him back to the facility. She gave him extra food privileges, and it was noted that Casey White had this, how can I put it? He was always trying to get sympathy from the staff. So he was, I mean, you can see on that picture of him, just looks like a convict to me. He was a very tall guy. We'll see that when we see some video of him. Massively tall. Apparently, he was a sweet talker. You know, so he sort of sweet talked Vicky around. I don't know how he did that, because surely someone like Vicky, who's worked in that business for so many years, he won't have been the first prisoner who's tried to sort of, you know, inveigle themselves into her affections or whatever. I'm sure that happens a lot, you know, in prisons. Anyway, he succeeded where perhaps many others didn't. So apparently this, it's thought that the romantic relationship that they had actually started in 2020. That was 2 years earlier. Anyway, so when they disappeared on that day that they disappeared, it took a little while for them to be chased down. But of course, the prison authorities immediately terminated her employment and issued arrest warrants for her on May the 2nd and on May the 6th. So that seems like quite a, so it happened on, yeah, so a week later, because I think he originally they thought that maybe he'd abducted her, you know. They were supposed to be going to a mental health evaluation. That was what the reason was. Supposedly, she claimed to her co-workers she was taking him for a scheduled mental health evaluation at the courthouse. Now, they did think it was a bit strange, because it's unusual for people to just go, just one person to go. But because of Vicky's standing, you know, because of Vicky's reputation, nobody questioned her. Whereas maybe if it would have been somebody else, somebody would have Vicky was one of these people, she was beyond reproach. To me, it feels like she was sort of tired of being the good girl, wasn't she? Or, you know, maybe her life was a little bit boring. Who knows? Who knows how this finally happened, and now this person managed to sort of talk around when other inmates. I'm sure it wasn't the first time an inmate tried to have a relationship with Vicky, because she's an attractive woman. You know, she's in a position of power as far as the facility is concerned. So yeah, you know, why? Who knows? Maybe she was going through some sort of midlife crisis. maybe she just felt she'd been too good all her life. Anyway, as I say, she did say to one of her friends she was going to go out with a bang. So yeah, she told police officers she was taking him to the county courthouse in Florence, and then she was going to see a doctor, she said, because she wasn't feeling very well. So yeah, it did arouse a little bit of suspicion, but she just wasn't challenged just because of who she was, and everybody knew her. Nobody thought for a minute she might be doing anything. Of course, then off they went, and they never returned to the facility. And it took a little while, to notice that they hadn't come back. And as I say in the beginning, first of all, really, I think the feeling was that he had forced her to sort of, he abducted her basically and forced her to help him escape. It was soon realised, once they started looking into like the fact that she'd sold her house, bought the firearms, etc. It was, and also the big thing that made them realise that Vicky had not been forced was the CCTV from the prison, which showed she was leading the way as they came out of the prison to get in the car. And we're going to watch that CCTV shortly. That is a big no-no. You don't let a prisoner walk behind you. This is what a lot of the people said on the documentary. They watched, as soon as they watched the CCTV and saw that Vicky was allowing Casey to walk behind her, holding the door open for him, they knew that she was willingly going with him, because you do not to trust someone enough, a prisoner behind you. It's just not something that they do. The prisoner always has to go in front of you. So anyway, what they did was off they went on the run, and they'd switched to the hunt started off sort of statewide in that state, but ended up nationwide. The police car was dumped. They'd got into a Ford Edge, which was used as the second getaway vehicle. That was found abandoned in Tennessee, and they'd switched to a blue 2006 Ford F-150 pickup truck, and they were checking in and out of various motels. And Vicky had been seen in surveillance videos with dark-coloured hair, because of course normally she was blonde, like on the picture that you're looking at, but it was seen that she was wearing her hair dark, and that wig was later found among the possessions in the truck where everything came to an end. So they eventually arrived in Evansville in Indiana, where they rented a motel room. They reserved the room by paying a homeless man $100 to reserve the room for them. He did not know that they were on the run. He didn't know anything about them. And they paid for a 14-day stay at this motel room. Okay, now finally on May the 9th, the authorities in Indiana received a surveillance video of the couple washing the truck from a car wash employee, and they were later spotted in another video getting into a grey Cadillac. Then a police officer saw the vehicle at a Motel 41, called for backup. The couple left the motel and entered the car, and Casey was driving. That's when the chase ensued. And now we're going to look at some videos which will tell us what ensued, how it all ended up. It's sort of very sad, but it's almost like it's what Vicky wanted. She chose this guy. How did she think it was going to end up? Did she really think they'd drive off into the sunset? They hadn't gone that far, really. Did she really think they would drive off into the sunset together? Were they heading for Mexico? probably, I don't know, but you know, they would have to leave the country, really, wouldn't they? I mean, they would stand out. He stands out. He's massive, tall. You can't hide that. You can change your appearance, but you can't change your height. And when someone's as exceptionally tall as Casey was, as you'll see shortly, you can't change that. You can't make yourself shorter. What you're going to do, chop the bottom of your legs off? You know, you just can't. So they did stand out. They did stand out, definitely. Okay, so let's have a look. Right, first of all, let's just have a look at this bank of photos. So give you an idea of how tall he was. So look, so you can see, look at the difference between him and the police officers. I think he was something like he is still alive. He's in prison. He's about 6'9", I think. So you literally cannot hide that. This guy would stand out a mile away. I mean, my son is 6'5" and he stands out. He's another 4 inches taller. He just dwarfs those other policemen, doesn't those policemen? Look, they just look like, you know, they look short next to him, and they're probably quite tall. They're probably 6 foot. So, yeah. Let me put that down. So what we're going to look at first. So I want to show you some of the here we go. So first of all, we're going to look at the CCTV of them leaving the prison. And this is what, when a lot of people saw it, they could, you can just tell. He doesn't look like a prisoner under arrest. Let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look at this news report.
We begin tonight with those new developments in the search for Casey White and Vicky White. This new surveillance video shows the two leaving the Lauderdale County Jail just moments before they disappeared Friday. You can see them getting into the patrol car. That vehicle was found hours later in Florence, nowhere near the courthouse where Vicki told coworkers she was taking Casey White. This is the escape from another angle. You can see Vicky White driving up to the door before opening a second door to lead Casey White out of the building.
U.S. Marshals identified the vehicle the two could be driving. Authorities say they were last seen Friday in Rogersville in an orange copper-colored 2007 Ford.
So this news item was made as they were still missing. They hadn't been found yet. I just want to go a little bit back to the beginning again, because I want to show you again about is her demeanor. This is how they knew.
And the search for Casey White and Vicky.
This is how they knew, after initially thinking she'd probably been abducted. This is how they knew she wasn't, because you can see she isn't, you know, under duress whatsoever.
Vicky White. This new surveillance video shows the two leaving the Lauderdale County Jail just moments before they disappeared Friday. You can see them getting into the patrol car. That vehicle was found hours later in Florence, nowhere near the courthouse where Vicki told coworkers she was taking Casey White. This is the escape from another angle. You can see Vicky White driving up.
Yeah, so this was the surveillance video that a lot of her friends, once they saw it, especially the ones that worked in the same place and know the procedure, soon as they saw her come through first and hold the door open for him, they knew that she was not under duress, because if she should have been behind him, not him behind her.
To the door before opening a second door to lead Casey White out of the building.
U.S. Marshals identified the vehicle the two could be driving. Authorities say they were last seen Friday in Rogersville in an orange copper-colored 2007 Ford Edge. They added the vehicle has damage to the left front bumper, and authorities told us Vicky bought that car just last week. If you see this car, call 911 immediately.
So, yeah. So, wonder what, you know, what possessed her. And what gets me really is, not so much, you know, if she fell in love with him or whatever, but what made them think, or what made her think, she should have known more than anybody. How did she think they were going to get away with it? You know, did she really think they would not be caught? This just amazing, because she doesn't seem to me like she was a silly person, you know, but she acted completely sillily, I think, just thinking that they could ever get away with it. Anyway, let's just read this article. So, as I say, Netflix has made a documentary about it. Netflix viewers make the same point about shocking phone recording in sickening true crime doc. Right, so a lot of people are complaining because the phone calls between the two of them are played in this Netflix documentary. You know, you can tell they're talking. There's some talk about sex. It's all love talk, you know. So, what, I don't know. What do they think is wrong with them playing those recordings? Is it because they think it's private and it should? But you know, this is what happened. And you know, at the end of the day, both Vicky and him, they broke the law. They broke the law. So I don't know whether you can expect privacy then. God, we've seen Stephen Stearns. I've seen his button mushroom, you know, because you don't have any privacy when you break the law like that. You know, this guy, he's a murderer. You know, he's not, he wasn't in prison for stealing a packet of cigarettes. You know, he was in prison for murder, murdering a woman, you know, and that's what surprises me as well, unless somehow he talked Vicky into believing he hadn't really done it. Anyway, so yeah, Vicky had fallen in love with an inmate, Casey White. They're not related, the surnames are just a coincidence. So he was set to spend the rest of his life behind bars after being served a 75-year prison sentence for attempted murder and robbery in 2015. Now, the thing is, you can see his reason for doing it. He had nothing to lose because he was in prison for the rest of his life anyway. So he absolutely had nothing to lose. Vicky was on the verge of retirement, you know, all that, you know, the money that she sold a house for and whatever, she could have hung on, sold it for a proper amount and gone traveling around the world. She could have done anything she wanted to do, and she chose to do this. It's quite surprising, isn't it, really? Anyway, I can't play the trailer because it'll pick me up for copyright. But yeah, it's on Netflix. It's called Jailbreak, Love on the Run. It's a very good documentary. I would recommend you watch it. So a lot of viewers think that she was manipulated to her death, really. And she was definitely manipulated. But you've got to think, you know, she was a woman who'd worked in this industry for a long time, 17 years at that prison. You know, she wasn't like green behind the ears sort of thing, that she just started there, and she'll have come into contact with so many different prisoners. And although she was always really nice to them, treated them nicely, but she never, you know, fell for any of them before. And as I say, I'm sure some of them, over the 17 years that she worked there, I'm sure a few of them tried it on with Vicky, because she's an attractive woman there in prison. You know, they would see that if they could manipulate her, then they could, you know, maybe get some benefits to themselves. So what did he have? You know, that all these other prisoners that probably came and went through those 17 years, what was different about him, I wonder? Or was it just the point that Vicky had come to in her life, you know, that she wanted to go out with a bang, as she said? Well, she certainly went out with a bang. So, yeah, after being on the run for 11 days, a tip-off led to their capture. And before police were able to arrest them, very sadly, Vicky shot herself in the head. Now, it was initially thought that maybe Casey had shot her, But we're going to watch the videos, the dash cam videos of when they were captured, and Vicky still had the gun in her hand. So it was more or less, you know, they could see that she actually did. I think when she saw she was cornered, maybe she just didn't want to go to prison herself. Makes you feel like she must have had some more issues than that. Maybe she'd been suffering from depression for years, for all we know. We know, at the end of the day, that just because people go to work every day and they're helping other people all the time and doing this, that, and the other, it doesn't mean to say they're not depressed, does it? Some people, that's how they cover it up. Some people can't get out of bed when they're depressed. Other people, they just still function and just carry on. Everybody deals with things differently. So that documentary, it features interviews with her friends and family, and also a series of phone calls, hot and heavy phone calls between the two, says it, which have left viewers clutching their pearls. So yeah, they're not that bad, to be honest, but the two moan each other's names. They yearn for the day they can have sex in real life, and they make many banana-based innuendos. And they also discuss lingerie, sex acts, and sex toys. There were over 1,000 calls made between Casey and Vicky. It does make you wonder, why was that never picked up? I mean, aren't his calls being recorded? Did the prison facilities not think it was strange that there was 1,000 phone calls made between Casey and Vicky? Very strange. Just seems strange that it was never discovered. Anyway, so yes, some people have said it was good to play those phone recordings. Other people are saying they shouldn't have played the phone recordings. And Matt Burbank, the director of corrections at the prison that Vicky works in, did confirm in the documentary that they did in fact have sex in the prison. So apparently she set her scheme into motion on the 29th of April 2022. The decorated employee, because she'd won awards, etc., asked a fellow officer to bring Casey up to Buckingham to shackle him, and they obliged, and then the two left, apparently for this evaluation at the courthouse. But when hours passed and they didn't return, alarm bells started to ring. And that's when they embarked on their journey as outlaws, living in motels until their eventual discovery. So yeah, I don't really understand why they didn't try and go across the border. What were they doing in a motel? For all those days. I mean, all right, stay one night in a motel, but you think, they were on the run. You'd think that they would make an effort, wouldn't you, to escape? Anyway, so Casey has now once again been put behind bars, and he said, "We were married in my laws. We weren't married in faith laws. I was her husband and she was my wife." Because he kept referring, you'll see when we watch the video of him being arrested, when the police caught up with him, he keeps saying, "How is my wife? How is my wife?" He kept referring to her as his wife. Okay, so what do you think so far? Let me know in comments. Do you think Vicky just wanted, she was just tired of being a good girl and she just wanted some excitement? Maybe her life had been pretty boring since her first marriage had broken up. Maybe she just was so totally in love with him. Maybe she did, fall in love with him. What makes a good girl turn bad like that? I know that, like they say that, women like bad boys, but I think maybe when they're young, but as they get older, normally, and especially in the job that Vicky was in, normally they get a bit wiser, but it seems the opposite with Vicky. It seems as she got older, she got less wiser. Maybe there were more underlying issues. than just the fact of her falling in love with him. Maybe she did have depression. Maybe she just, because at the end of the day, she shot herself. So, maybe she just couldn't face going back to that life. Maybe her life was boring, lonely. Maybe she was lonely. Who knows? But it does seem strange, doesn't it? 17 years of not getting involved with a wrong gun at a prison, and then suddenly, all that goes out the window. That's what seems strange to me. Anyway, let's have a look at the body cam footage of the arrest, etc. I mean, I feel a lot of sympathy for Vicky in one way, but the only thing that that makes me struggle to find sympathy is this guy had murdered a woman. So if anything, unless he'd managed to manipulate her and convince her it wasn't him or whatever, at the end of the day, you have to have. She knew he'd murdered a woman. It wasn't that she didn't know about it, of course. That was the reason he was in prison. So, she should have known better, really, and also had more empathy with that woman that he murdered. But do you know what? There for the grace of God. We've, you never know when your hormones might step in, and, I'd like to think I'd never fall in love with a convicted murderer, but do you know what? Who knows?
Newly released body cam footage showing the chaotic moments after Vicky and Casey White's 11-day run from the law came to a screeching halt. Following a 15-minute pursuit, we now know it was Casey White who was behind the wheel and crashed the pair's Cadillac after law enforcement collided with.
The size of him. This is what gets me. This is it. They couldn't remain incognito under the, how could, once you saw him, you would notice him. How could you not notice him, the size of him?
Pursuit, we now know it was Casey White who was behind the wheel and crashed the pair's Cadillac after law enforcement collided with the car.
Basically rammed the vehicle and pushed it into a ditch. And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement.
In one video captured by an Evansville police officer running to the scene, you can hear the 6'9" fugitive inmate asking if the former corrections officer is all right. His wife, as he refers to her, though authorities confirmed the two were not married.
She's still got it in her hand. Got the gun in her hand? Yes, all right, watch it.
44 News obtained this 911 call made by 56-year-old Vicky White during the pursuit.
Yeah, so she's a little bit younger than him, I think, but she actually phoned the police. I'm not sure why, really, but anyway.
Oh, my God.
Hello?
Airbags are going on. Let's get out and run. Get us back to the hotel.
Soon after, the line goes silent. We know around that time, White shot herself in the head. She died out.
I mean, it does, they've determined that she did shoot herself. But it's funny, isn't it? She's talking and then she screams and then you hear the shot. And very first time I heard that, which was when it all happened. I've been meaning to do about a video about this for ages. When it first happened a couple of years ago, I remember listening to that and thinking, surely he shot her there. But apparently not. Apparently she had the gun in her hand, and not in a way that he'd put it in her hand. She had the gun in her hand that they could tell that she'd shot herself, apparently. So let's just look at that again. No, she's saying, get us back to the hotel. Let's get out and run. How are they going to get back to the hotel? And what difference is it going to make? It's a very odd thing. Maybe she'd sort of had some sort of a nervous breakdown or something. How could you think they could get out this situation and go back to the hotel? Why were they even staying in a hotel? Why weren't they on the run on the way to Mexico or somewhere?
6-year-old Vicky White during the pursuit.
Amazon Island.
Oh, my God.
Hello?
Airbags are going on. Let's get out and run.
Yeah, there was some talk that they weren't sure if that was a deliberate 911 call or whether it was, you know, pressed by accident, but I don't know.
Get us back to the hotel.
Soon after, the line goes silent. We know around that time, White shot herself in the head. She died hours later at the hospital. This new footage gives a detailed look at the pursuit and moments immediately after. But it's what law enforcement later uncovered from the car that widens the scope and provides some answers in a case filled with countless questions.
And we have photos of the weapons that were located in the vehicle.
An AR-15, 4 handguns, and 3 magazines. Vicky White's service belt and several wigs, plus $29,000 in cash, an amount seemingly left over from the $95,000 Vicky White got from selling her house days before the escape.
There's several tragedies, to this story, the way this escape ended, but also too, it stings that somebody entrusted with what she was given as a correctional officer planned, organized, and facilitated this escape.
Casey White.
How much money did they say they had left over? It wasn't much, was it really, from what they had? But I suppose she'd gone out and bought guns and cars and things. Let me just go back a little bit to that. Right. Let me know what you think in comments. Have any of you ever done anything ridiculous? I'm sure nobody's done anything maybe as crazy as this for love, but we've all done some things, haven't we?
Cash, an amount seemingly left over from the $95,000 Vicky White got from selling her house days before the escape. Wigs, plus $29,000 in cash, an amount.
$29,000 in cash. Not much, is it, for your lifetime of work? From what she sold a house for, 90-odd thousand, she'd spent most of it already. I mean, 25,000. To be fair, $25,000 isn't going to get you very far at all, is it? Even if you went over to Mexico, it'd probably get you the petrol to get there and what have you, and keep you maybe for a month at the most. It's not going to get you much further than that, is it?
Seemingly left over from the $95,000 Vicky White got from selling her house days before the escape.
There's several tragedies, to this story, the way this escape ended, but also too, it stings that somebody entrusted with what she was given as a correctional officer planned, organized, and facilitated this escape.
Casey White was booked into the Vanderburgh County Jail Monday. At his initial court hearing the next morning, he opted to return to Alabama to face charges. White is expected to arrive there before end of night Tuesday. In Evansville, Valerie Lyons, 44 News.
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, it makes absolutely no difference to this guy. This guy was in prison. It was serving life in prison anyway. So, he's just back where he was, really, except he hasn't got Vicky looking after him. I expect he'll find somebody else. All right, let's have a look at this. This is the body cam footage.
Straight in? Yeah. Take a right. Oh, he's right here. Right here. Hey, we need to clear some of this shit out of the way so we can get out of here. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I got it. He is. Oh. She shot herself. Davis, you good?
I mean, because she didn't kill anybody, did she? She didn't kill anybody. She's had this exemplary record and then just threw everything away for this guy.
Anything? Anything?
No, she's good.
Okay.
She's still got it in her hand. I don't know.
Got the gun in her hand?
Yeah, she's got a gun.
All right, watch it. You want this window gone?
Hey,
Hey.
She was still alive.
Let's go and pop this front windshield
She's
here.
got the gun in her hand. She's still breathing. I see chest rising.
Okay.
Right here, right. Yes, still breathing. Would it be better if we try to pull the vehicle back? Would it be safer? Let the fire guy stabilize. That's what they do.
Need any iPad?
Yep. Finger still on the trigger.
Where's the anybody got a hooligan?
Maybe.
I just think it's so very sad. And if you do go over and watch that Netflix documentary, maybe you've already seen it. You know, nobody's got a bad word to say about Vicky. It just seems so sad. You know, all of her family, her friends, even the other prisoners there, all saying, you know, she was a light. You know, she helped so many people, and maybe she just got fed up of doing everything for everybody else all the time. I don't know. And I suppose as she had retirement coming up, maybe she was just thinking she had an emptiness coming up. But of course, she could have worked somewhere else. I mean, she was retiring from this job, but she could have got a job anywhere, you know, doing something else where she was still with people, maybe a job that wasn't quite so stressful. I mean, to be honest, she could have gone and worked at Walmart, and then at least she would have met people and that. It's, I think some people look forward to retirement, don't they? And I think it depends on your family circumstances, your financial circumstances. Some people look forward to being retired and not doing anything. Personally, I would hate to be not doing anything. I mean, it'd be nice to be working less. Be nice to not having to work, you know, working when you wanted to. I'd still be doing these videos. You know, I'm sort of just a bit of it. I am a true crime junkie at the end of the day. And I'd probably still be doing some classes, I don't know, or something, maybe writing some books to do with Spanish. That's just the person I am. I've always got to be doing something. But it'd be nice, depending, as I say, on financially where you work. Because there's no, you know, when you've got a lot of free time and no money to do with, you know, to do anything with it, it's not so much fun, is it? But if you've got free time and you've got some money, you don't have to have loads of money, do you? Just enough money to do nice things, go out for lunch, you know, maybe go on little breaks here and there, spa days, get a nice hobby going. You know, retirement. But she obviously was not looking forward to her retirement, was she? You know, so it's so very sad, because to all intents and purposes, she was a really nice person. So what she saw in that twonk, I don't know.
Still no movement.
Waiting too far on scene. I'm with you. What's your unit call?
You're good. They were transfer Bearcat.
Okay.
Hey, Kurt, you got a Halligan? Yeah. Bring that Halligan. We need. We're going to start working on this. Yeah.
Is it a wig?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
So she's still breathing. They're trying to give her some sort of assistance. She is still breathing.
I got glasses. What do you expect?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So listen. Break that front. Let's break that front. That's got laminate in it. So it's not going to break. Okay. Yeah, we need to cut that front windshield. You can see the gun pointing around them. Yeah, gun is pointing. Or if we can break this sunroof here, brother, get in there. Yeah. Hey, here, we've got the housing right here. We're going to try to break this sunroof here too. Can you go in? Can you pull her out through there? Well, I think we can get the gun. It'd probably be easier in the windshield. Oh, see if it'll open. Good idea. We got cover? Yeah. It's opening. It's opening. Sometimes it's simpler. Just be careful, dude. Yeah. You got me? Yep. I'm gonna go for the gun first. Okay, I'm gonna go for the gun.
Trying to get the gun away from him.
I'm gonna grab it. Let me a little bit. All right, pull me out. All right, I got it. All right. Scene safe. Hear me pull it out? Yeah. Somebody pull me. Go down.
So got her out onto the ground. Oh, bless. So I presume they're going to start some CPR or something.
Hey, go get cleaned up.
Now it's unclear, bless her, if the gun went off by accident or whether she did deliberately mean it. That is unclear. I think whether she actually deliberately meant to take her own life or whether the gun went off by accident, because it was a very volatile situation, wasn't it? And for whatever reason, don't know why she had the gun in her hand even. So, you know, it's a very sad story, isn't it?
Go here, hold on.
Oh, well, can somebody kind of hook me up real fast?
He needs to get cleaned up, dude. He's not going to blood all over. Here, hold on. Hey, go to them and see Cabby wipes on you, man.
Yeah. So, what I want to look at now, I think we've been through most of the things that's in that article. Yeah, I think it's sorry. Yeah, it's definitely true that she'd said to her friends, her co-workers, when she left her job, I'm going out with a bang. She definitely said that. So she'd been planning this. And she put in for her retirement on Thursday, April the 28th. And she said, I can't do this no more. And her co-workers, in hindsight, of course, everything's easy in hindsight, did say that her behaviour in the weeks leading up to this event had seemed erratic for her. Actually, we will read through this because it's an interesting article and it's got some new information down at the bottom here. So somehow a physical relationship developed between the two that Vicky White managed to keep hidden despite the close quarters of the jail. Workers suspected that she might have a relationship that made her happy, but they had no idea who it might be. And even her parents did not suspect anything. She would hand envelopes to Casey while delivering mail to inmates, and he would hand back a letter addressed to his mother, but with no address or stamps. One inmate remembered, and these letters, of course, were intended for Vicky. He would occasionally ask other inmates for the correct spelling of certain words, which made them suspect he was writing to someone else. So we all know the benefits of hindsight. When you look back, you can see little flags, red flags, as to, you know, maybe people should have been more on the ball. But really, I think that the whole thing with Vicky is the 17 years of exemplary service that she'd served. Maybe people would have thought something if it was anyone but Vicky. So during shopping trips, she began buying these camping equipment, firearms, lingerie, fake IDs, orange Ford Edge, laying plans, sold her house at auction, gave away furniture. And in the meantime, she gave Casey extra from the jail commissary, and she took him outside on a dry run. And Casey, of course, he's facing a death sentence for the murder a couple of years ago, so he's got nothing to lose. We go up to Tennessee in the backwoods. We ain't never going to be around people the rest of it. Oh, so that's where they were heading, was it? Tennessee, the backwoods, to live in the woods. We ain't never going to be around people the rest of our lives, he told Vicky White. Anyone gets within 300 yards, it's going to be shots fired. And she made this comment of going out with a bang. So on that Friday, the jail was short-handed with 5 deputies on duty and Singleton in Birmingham for academy graduation. Vicky had her retirement party but remained largely silent and preoccupied while co-workers were cutting the cake. So she actually had her retirement party that day. And by 9:30 a.m. he'd been removed from his cell and was waiting for her. So did she have that party like before 9:30? It must have been. Anyway, within minutes, the two of them were gone from the jail, unless the party was the day before. Hours later, co-workers noticed they hadn't returned, and by the time her patrol car was found at a local parking lot, authorities had realised she must have been involved in Casey's escape, because video of the two leaving the jail showed Vicky walking in front of Casey, the capital murder suspect, which was a serious breach of procedure. And then I think we know the rest, don't we? So now that, the angle of the wound was so odd, co-workers said it seemed accidental. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe she didn't mean to shoot herself. You know, some people think that he shot her, but the police don't seem to think that. Anyway, as she was pulled from the car, as he was being pulled from the car, he was asking, "Is my wife hurting? Is my wife alive?" And in a jailhouse interview, he told the filmmakers they planned to take the money, find a trailer, and stay hunkered down for a while. We thought we'd never really get caught. I just don't understand how they could think they would never get caught. Anyway, he pleaded guilty to escape charges, other charges in that June 2023, and he was sentenced to life in prison. And he entered his plea in exchange for the felony murder charge involving Vicky to be dropped. So they were planning on charging him with Vicky's murder, maybe that he killed her, but it's gone now. I mean, the thing is, he's in prison for life, I suppose. So prosecutors saw no need to pursue the case as White was already sentenced to life without parole. There's nothing more they could give him. And the jail nurse, Kylie O'Brien, perhaps delivered the moral of the story if one exists. Hell, you don't never know nobody till you live with their ass. And well, that's the truth. It's true. You just don't know what's going on in people's heads, do you? Now, there's a case at the moment. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a father and his 3 children. Just thinking about what they said about being hunkered down. His father and his 3 children that disappeared. And there's recently been a sighting of them in camouflage gear, you know, going through like the... going through some campo. Campo is a Spanish for, you know. I need to do a video about that. It's another case I'd like to look at. Anyway, they were captured on video on somebody's phone, but now the police can't find them again. So maybe it is possible to hide under the radar. So the last thing I just want to look at is the obituary. Let me just see. So this is the obituary for Vicky Sue White. She's survived by her mother, Patricia Lee Hughes Davis, her father, J.C. Davis, two brothers, Gary and Steve, nephew Kyle, uncles Ronnie and Donnie, her aunts Joyce, Minor, Shirley and Barbara, and it's just says, I'm not sure what special family means, Chelsea Boland, Hunter Ray and Cooper Pogue. So she was May the 14th. There was a service for Vicky at 1 o'clock at Center Hill Cemetery. You can send flowers or plant a tree, anybody who wants to. And there's a tribute wall as well. Let's have a look. Whoop. A tribute wall. So you can, so some people have gone on there, posted gestures, lit candles. This is how I feel, really. I'm so sad for Vicky. My heart truly goes out to that poor woman. She never hurt anyone. I feel like I can relate to her sadness and loneliness. I don't feel like this. I feel like my life is just a prison cell too. She was beautiful. So that must be, I think that's how Vicky must have felt, isn't it? Mrs. Davis, my heart goes out to you. You've been blindsided, betrayed, duped and abandoned by Vicky's passing. So that's her mum she's talking to. After I saw Vicky's story a few nights ago, I dragged myself to bed. I didn't get up the way I normally do. Come morning, I went back to bed. A few hours passed. I got up and went back to bed again. Why am I telling you this? I'm an elder like you. I've had happy and challenging moments in my life, yet many of them lonely. I never found or got to be with the love of my life, any love of which there were many. When I was young and in love, all I wanted was marriage and a family. Now, I bet there's a lot of people, not only women, who maybe relate to that. Sometimes people I think mainly women give up things for their career, because to have a successful career and be a woman, it's difficult to find a man who can cope with that. I know that is absolutely true. So although Vicky led an exemplary life, employed as a corrections officer, no job or its accolades or friends and family, as loving as they are, can fill the holes of a hungry heart. Vicky was 57 and ready for a midlife change. She was most likely tired of the work, ready for something new and exciting. She lived alone. She must have been horribly lonely, except those 5 weeks she lived with you. No, she had no children, so no grandchildren to keep her occupied. I think that can make a big difference as well. It's like a fatal attraction. That's what she's calling it here. So she must have spent the last couple of weeks living with her mum or something. Vicky made some tough choices along the way, but I'm glad she had the courage to check out when the bubble burst. She didn't want to put herself or you through what would come next. I hope you'll come to cherish those last weeks she spent with you. So lots of symbolic gestures. And also there's a tribute book. Let's have a look at the tribute book. So you can, for friends and relatives, they can order the book, or you can just view it online. When we lose someone we know we love, we must learn not to live without them, but to live with the love they left behind. Right, I'm going to start blubbing now. You know that, don't you? I'm definitely going to start blubbing now. Sorry, I forgot to share that. So let me just go back to, because I think I didn't share it. So this is the memory book, tribute book. It's a very nice idea. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. Abraham Lincoln. Well, I think that's what Vicky was going for there, wasn't it? Wasn't she? You know, that's what she was going for, like go out with a bang. That's what she said. She was bored. She was lonely. Sad. So terribly sad. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day, unseen, unheard, but always near. Still loved, still missed, and very dear. I'm just going to cry all the way through this now. So people have left tributes. Vicky will always be in my thoughts and prayers, praying for all of the family. My prayers are with all of you today in the hard days to come. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his light shine upon you. Everyone deserves a second chance. May God have mercy on your soul and may you rest easy in the clouds. I don't see you as a bad person, and neither does the Lord. You're human. Rest easy. So sad. I'm going to light a candle in the matter. I'm going to light my candle here. So yeah, I think this story has captivated a lot of people. A lot of people can resonate with Vicky, how lonely she was. Along comes this guy who, you think, I suppose he was sweet talking her. I don't know, maybe it'd been a long time since she'd had a relationship of any kind. Even though she was working with men every day, that's what I'd like to know, is what made the difference with him. There must have been loads of prisoners. Honestly, if you watch that documentary, they've all got glowing things to say about her. She was like respected. She did, just maybe he was just that bit different. I don't know. He obviously touched a chord with her. Just touched a chord with her somehow. I don't know how. So to her family and loved ones, my heart is with you. The sun sets and rises. We put one foot in front of the other. And that's true, actually. Remember, for you members out there, we were talking about mindfulness in the members' live. And literally, that's all you can do in life when you go through bad times. Put one foot in front of the other. You take one step at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. You mustn't look behind and you mustn't look in front. You've got to just live in the moment and just try and cope as best you can. We hold our hearts in our hands. We lift them up to you, God of eternal peace, and to each other help us live each day. Amen. Amen. So yeah, a lot of people have made comments. I think it's hard, it's hard to think bad of Vicky. I think I just think, she was human. She was human. She was at a stage in her life where she was looking. Oh, that was the actual. Let's see, who was that? Thoughts and prayers to the family of Vicky White. For whatever happens, she is in a better place. Thank you for your service. To Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office, rest in peace. Neil Siegel, retired Palm Beach Sheriff's Office Corrections Support Services, 30 years of service. Vicky gave 17 years of service to the community. So gosh. So let me know what you think in comments. Do you think she just literally was fed up with being a good girl? Do you think she just met how did he oh gosh, look at this. What does that say? I'm from something. Vicky White. Casey's name should be listed on here as family. He loved Vicky. Well, I don't think that's going to happen, because really, if she wouldn't have met Casey, you know, she would probably still be alive, just enjoying her retirement, or maybe not, I don't know. But it'd be difficult for the family to forgive Casey, especially as he may have killed her. I mean, we don't know for certain because the case is not being pursued because he's in prison for life anyway. So doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't him. Fly high, wear those angel wings proud, you lived your dream. Oh, I hope it was everything that you wanted while you had it. Sincere condolences to the family, and may you find peace in your hearts. Well, I agree with that. I hope those 9 days or whatever they were on the run, I hope she did have a fantastic time. I hope he treated her properly. I hope, you know, it was everything that she hoped it would be, because that was going to be the last good times, wasn't it, for her? I hope there were good times, because nothing can change things now. You know, it can't, you know, always, it can't, or, you know, nothing can be changed now. So I just hope at least she enjoyed it, if nothing else. That's a nice quote from Megan. You were the sweetest lady, sending my condolences to the family. I was hoping for a better outcome. Thank you for your service. Beautiful. I hope your last days were filled with love. Oh, sorry. Oh, dear. I hope they were as well. I hope her last days were filled with love. Anyway, so if you, gosh, there's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot of a lot of tributes, because this was a lot of people followed this on the news, etc. Oh, that's nice from Ricky Ricardo. Sad to see you leave and hope to meet you in heaven. Oh, I'm getting too upset now. I think I need to wrap this up before I start completely blubbing away. I feel like I want to read all of them. I read them all out, but gosh. Sorry, I should be reading them out loud so you can hear them. Lots of candles lit. Jody says, my deepest condolences go out to the family and friends of Vicky White. As a member of the community, my heart truly goes out to all affected by this, and there's a lot of us. Gosh, my voice is going now. Sometimes we never know what one's thinking or going through. So my heart goes out to her mother. As a mother, my heart aches for her. And may Vicky now be able to rest in peace. Yeah, I mean, it must be awful for a mum, because, you know, you think you could see what was going on. You know, you always think with your child, you know, you would know. I know she's an adult child, but all that was going on in Vicky's mind, all that planning, and nobody knew. You know, nobody knew what was going on. Well, I just cannot believe about these phone calls between them, that they were never picked up. You know, how can those phone calls between a prison officer and a prisoner, didn't they want to know who he was ringing all the time? Gosh. So look, it goes on and on and on. Lots and lots of tributes. Let's see what Claire's got to say. As a retired CO from Canada, corrections officer, of course, that is. I don't know why she did it, but it doesn't matter. I'm so very sad that this all turned out this way, and may all concerned find peace and solace from the support of friends, known and unknown, from far and near. Oh, that's so lovely. R.I.P. Vicky, and may the good that you did in life be remembered always. Yeah, you know, that one sort of blip at the end of her career, it should not eradicate all the good things that she did. You know, it shouldn't, should it? She, you know, 17 years of exemplary service, and she's helped a lot of people. So that should not be forgotten, should it? That should not be forgotten. Nathan says, I send you, the family and friends of Vicky White, my prayers and deepest condolences. I worked and retired after 30 years in corrections. I had a female friend who later became involved with an inmate. This taught me to look deeper at what is going on with this type of affair. I ask you that you please do not judge Vicky. I'm sorry. Or her actions involving that inmate. I am certain she was just looking for love and attention from someone she thought would give it to her. It may seem illogical to you or others. However, all human beings and most living things on this planet are looking for love. Please do not judge her for ending her life. She is in the arms of her loving Creator. God is with her, his lover. His love, forgiveness and compassion holds no bounds. Much love to you all. You know, I do think we shouldn't judge. We can't judge, can we? Because, you know, there but for the grace of God go us, you know. We should not judge Vicky. I really do believe that. She did enough. She did good. Like this person says, Billy, Vicky did good her whole life. Let's all remember her for everything she did for others. She served her community for 16, I thought it was 17 actually, years, earning many outstanding awards. Do not stand in judgment. That's not our job. It's true. It's not our job to stand in judgment. This is time to remember all the good in Vicky, and my heart goes out to her family. Gosh, just I don't know how many pages are in this book. Lots. Gosh, I think I need to sit down one day and have a good read of it, though I'll just blub all the way through it. But I don't think so. It's nice that people have took the time to leave such lovely comments, light candles. You know, nobody seems to be, I don't know if they delete things that are not nice, but all these comments are nice. So I don't know. I expect there's people in here that have made comments that did know her. Maybe even, you know, as I say, if you watch the actual documentary, I think what's lovely to see is what some of the other inmates had to say about her. And this is what surprises me, because I say, I bet there's lots of inmates were attached to Vicky, because apparently she was just so nice to everybody. You know, why him? Why him? Why did she choose him? Not any others. Anyway, we'll never know what the thoughts were in Vicky's head. But yeah, a lot of these people on here are saying, like, I didn't know Vicky, but she touched my heart. So she's touched a lot of people, not even the people that she worked with. I think I get this feeling that she would be happy about that. You know, that she, even though, you know, it all came to a sort of tragic end, I do get this feeling that she would be happy that she's touched people in a positive way, even though she did something wrong at the end. It's strange, isn't it? You know, she did do something wrong, but she didn't hurt anybody else. She just hurt herself, didn't she? She never hurt anybody else in her whole life. She just hurt herself, I suppose. So there's a lot of PR. There's a lot of service people. I think that's very nice. A lot of service people coming on and saying, like this guy, well, saying guy, it might be Ken, so it is a guy. As a dedicated 82nd Army Airborne Combat Medical Specialist, veteran and current small business owner, I would like to thank Vicky for her dedicated, outstanding 17-year managerial service as Assistant Director for the Lauderdale County Detention Center in state of Alabama. You know, it's nice. People, that's it. You've got to look beyond what happened in the end and look at all the good that she did while she was on this planet. Okay, this tribute book, God knows how long it'll go on for, but one day I'm going to sit and read it properly, all of them. But I expect that'll be a comfort to her family. I hope it'll be a comfort to her family, you know, that people saying such nice things. So I'm going to light a candle now. I'm going to light a candle for Vicky. As I say, let me know in comments what you think. Do you think Vicky did the right thing, you know, to go out with a bang? She wanted to go out with a bang. She went out with a bang. I suppose you could say she got what she wanted in that way. You know, she wouldn't have wanted to go to prison, would she? So, you know, and do you think that could happen to you? Do you think you could fall in love, and men and women? Because quite often men fall in love with bad women, if you like. It's not only women who fall in love with bad men. When you're with a master manipulator, someone who says and does the right thing all the time, and when you're vulnerable, the thing is, these people get you when you're vulnerable. You know, that's what happens. You know, sometimes you have to understand that people are vulnerable sometimes. You know, like, I don't know, maybe a single parent, or maybe somebody who's just lost someone. That's, I think, when you're vulnerable. You know, that's when I got involved once with somebody that I definitely shouldn't have got involved with, because I just lost my dad. And, you know, you're very vulnerable. And you know what, these people, they can sense that. It's like a guided missile honing in on someone who is vulnerable. Because that guy, Casey, I'm sorry, probably, maybe he did love Vicky. I hope he did love her. I hope he did love her. But maybe he tried it with all the guards, you know, but Vicky, maybe Vicky was just at that point in her life where she was, you know, not easy, that's not the right thing to say, vulnerable. And his words, maybe she just wanted to believe them. You know, he appealed to something in her that was already going on in her. So we can't blame him completely, because of course the two of them were complicit. I mean, she's a grown woman, you know, who made her own choices. So I'm not blaming him completely. But sometimes, you know, manipulators, they literally are like guided missiles to spot someone who's vulnerable, someone who will fall for what they've got to say. And then there'll be other people that won't fall for it, and then they don't even bother with them. But as soon as they spot someone, you know, Vicky obviously had been kind to all of the people she was looking after. And then he saw that and saw maybe you know, an in, if you like, that, oh, you know, maybe I can do something with this one. Or maybe he did love her. Maybe he did fall in love with her, you know. But I think we have to remember that he was a convicted murderer. You know, he had murdered another woman. So did he murder Vicky? You know, and or would he have eventually, when he got to a place when he'd got, you know, to a place where she wasn't useful to him anymore. She wasn't safe with him, was she? Now, I've watching crime channels over years. I've seen a few cases like that where that's happened. Someone's helped someone escape, or you know, and then they've gone missing. You know, Ted Bundy's a prime example, because Ted Bundy, he had a power over women. You know, Carol, he's the woman who he married in prison, and he had a child to. Somehow, you know, they obviously managed to have sex in prison because, you know, she had a child to him. So it was either they had sex or there was some sort of swapping over of turkey basters or something. But she did not, until the night before, until he finally confessed, because of course Ted Bundy, you know, insisted he was innocent for a long, long time. And this woman, Carol, who married him in prison, she believed him. She believed him until finally he confessed, and then her whole life, all the things she'd done to help him, all the time she'd stuck up for him. You know, manipulators are good at what they do, and you know, you or I might be able to look and think, how could they fall for that? But unless you're in that position where maybe you're vulnerable for whatever reason, you know, I'm the total opposite extreme now. I'm too cynical. I don't believe anyone. I probably won't believe someone even if they were really nice. You know, I've gone from one extreme to another where I used to be trusting and now I'm not. But I prefer it like that, really, to be honest, because, you know, it's lovely being in love. It's lovely being in love. There's no better feeling. But you know what? It's almost like a high from drugs, isn't it? You go so high that the crash afterwards sometimes you just can't survive it. So, okay, so for Vicky, and you know, love to her family, and I hope they're managing to cope with the situation. As far as case is concerned, well, you know, he's in prison, and that's the best place for him, in my opinion. But I'll see you really soon in the next video. Please don't forget to leave your fingerprint on the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this. If you want to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee here. Sorry, I've been told that I should put these up. That's my link for Ko-fi. Or if you want to join this channel, you can join here. But the most important thing you can do for my channel is watch my videos, like my videos, maybe share my videos, and subscribe. And that's all free. So thank you very much. Rest in peace, Vicky. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Bye.